Alrighty, so this is our game against Cheyenne from this Saturday. Honestly, I think that we played pretty well in this game. You'll see, really overall, the goals that they score come from small errors from us or big errors from us, and these are things that happen. Again, I think you'll see that we had a pretty large amount of control of this game. Definitely had enough opportunities to win it with, I think, some ease. I think if you look at the amount of genuine, good, clear-cut chances they get versus the amount that we get, and also just some of the overall patterns of play, we did really well. Also, it really helps when you have a player like this girl on the ball right here, who, quite frankly, looks like a junior in high school playing against eighth graders. Um, I'm thankful that her coaches don't encourage her to just dribble coast to coast and just score goals by herself, because I got the feeling early on if she really wanted to do that, she maybe could. And I do think that this team they did a lot of wise things. They, in terms of in-game management stuff, they did a lot of things that were clever. So we'll have to think about those. They were also pretty physical. So this was a game where could we outthink our opponents and also just use our quality a little bit better. So one thing that they did a lot, corner kicks. What I noticed on the sideline, they would call out plays, 2, 3, something like that. And they would try these patterns. I think, look at the way we defend here. It's pretty good, right? We get pressure from a center forward there. Then, in the end, we're at least getting it out. And that's just excellent play right there. I think we continue to do that, try and find our center forward, and then play through balls to our fast and powerful wingers. We're going to always create chances on the counterattack. Now we need to keep learning and working on how to create more opportunities from this position, right? From here, putting the ball on the ground and going forward. And you'll see plenty of instances where we did do that quite well. Overall, I'm kind of surprised at how we lost this game, but I think it all came down to moments and the fact that this girl back here at the back was really able to put out so many fires for them. I mean, she made a big difference, and she will in every game that they play. So we have to be able to respect that, see what that strength is, and be able to deal with it just a little bit better. So if Grace right there, instead of worrying about getting all the way to goal, just worry about positioning yourself between the ball and the opponent. Because if she fouls you there on a breakaway, it's a red card. And now they've lost their best player, actually. So one thing that we've talked about is making sure that you get your body between the ball and the opponent, and that gives you control of the situation. And I don't care how strong, how fast, or how good they are. If you keep your body between the ball and the opponent, you have control. Especially against players like that. That's the most important factor we can do, because you're not going to run around them. You're not going to dribble around them. They're always going to catch you. So using your body against them is the best way that you can give yourself a chance. So that's good play right there by Sasha. Go towards the ball, let it bounce, and then run on. I think a lot of the time earlier in the season, and we still do it a little bit, but one thing that we do is when an aerial ball is going forward, like in the direction we want it, sometimes we'll get underneath it and knock it backwards. So if it's already going in the direction you want, let it run. And I think about it this way. If we want to get underneath all punts when we're on defense and when the other keeper has the ball and they punt it. If we don't want to ever let the ball bounce, what does that mean if we're attacking? And we want the opposite. We want the ball to bounce because that's bad for the other team. Something to think about. Right there, an example of why I want to work more on volleys, being able to shoot when the ball is bouncing. One thing that a lot of players like to do is they'll connect with the ball higher off the ground, and the key to a volley is trying to connect with it almost at its lowest point, as close to the ground as possible. And that's how you get your body over the ball and make sure it doesn't go sky high, basically, just like that. So one thing to notice about the way this team played is that girl Nadia. Nadia is the good player in the back, their strongest player. She played a lot of long balls, a lot, and the key to I think dealing with this team was handling them better. So that's doing pretty well with a long ball right there. Just being able to get underneath it, not let it bounce, and try and make sure that if we get underneath the ball, that wherever it goes, it's not back towards our goal. It's out away towards the sides or forward again. And there's just plenty of examples in this game where you see where if we do it, it happens to really help us over the next few seconds of the play. And if we don't, if we do it wrong or we don't really settle the ball well, it goes in our face pretty quickly. Again, really, really good play to find the center forward and then link up to Sasha out wide. And again, that's not bad. It's really good overall play. Sasha gets the ball high and on target. But now, here's what we know. That goalkeeper has good hands. Okay, so from now on, we've got to make sure that any shot or cross that we play is away from her hands, because she's probably going to catch it. So a little warning right there. If you notice, the ball went in, and we realized it was going to Nolani, but all of them ran in. They still chased it, even though they really didn't have a prayer to get it. They still chased it. That's a little warning for their first goal. Again, big ball out. Who deals with it first, right? I think we did just fine with that right there. Put some pressure on it, and now we can keep it. So what I love about what Maggie did right there is she came in towards the ball and turned her body forward when it came to her. Yes, she didn't get the touch right, but a lot of the time we're receiving the ball still facing backwards, and then it takes longer to turn. So that was just a small detail, something that really does make a big difference, and it definitely can. So I haven't seen anyone on our team jump to chest a ball like that, which was very good. But here, that's a pretty good shot by G. I was very happy with her technique that she used to strike it with her laces, to get off her plant foot like we worked on last week. And I think what I told the girls is, look, G did fine shooting that. She put it on target. It was a good low shot. But what we know is that the goalie won't be beaten by that. We're going to have to do better. So this is another one of those situations right here. We allowed them to turn. Because Paige went in to bite for the ball, and the girl bodied her. And then the ball went across. And when it went in behind our defense, they all just stood and assumed, well, that's for Nolani because it's in the box. The other team ran in, and they got a shot off. That is where their first goal comes from. Exactly that. It's a carbon copy, so we need to keep an eye on that. So one thing that I say to players a lot is throw the ball up the line. Like literally right in front of the linesman. Between G and the line, there is a little gap, a little tiny corridor. That's why I'm screaming up the line. Not there. Literally in between G and the sideline is where we want that ball to go. Because we could have saved, 5-10 seconds. She could have been in this position with a better throw-in, right? Throw-ins happen to be a huge source of pain for me because I think it's incredible how often youth players just give the ball away on a throw-in. I think we do pretty well, but we're going to work on and continue to talk about ways we can just be more efficient with the ball and how to reduce the possibility of creating more errors. One other thing, we were offside a lot in the first half. Mostly because this team liked playing a line where they stepped up. They did play an offside trap, and we weren't really wise to it, which is fine. But because their offside trap wasn't really that good. It was a lot of the time late, and it was more just that we got a little bit ill-disciplined in terms of not paying attention exactly to where we were standing. But it was a good lesson for us to sort of learn, like, what's the difference between how much do you need to pay attention to stay on side? And the answer is quite a bit, especially with teams that play a high line and that will step up. So we've been pretty comfortable in this game so far. There's been 15 minutes gone. They haven't gotten too much of a chance. They've gotten a couple little half chances. But we're doing a pretty good job controlling the game, and we just need to carve out, a couple real decent opportunities and be able to get a good strike on the ball. We also need to avoid making, big, unforced individual errors. Okay, and I think really we did a pretty good job here. I think we were well set, and every time she dribbled out of the back, she ended up running into an area where she had to play a ball through, and most of the time we cut it off. So these first 15 minutes, very good from everyone who was playing. So this is a situation I think we can definitely talk about a little bit more, is what you do when teams have a free kick from that part of the field. And it's pretty obvious they're going to try and go long with it. Where do we position ourselves? I think this is pretty good right here. What we want is to make sure that the gap behind us, between us and our goalkeeper, is small enough that if it goes over, it's easy for her to grab. Or else they would be offside and going into those positions. And I think a situation right there with G right behind Grace, if Grace had sort of faked taking a touch there, let it bounce and keep going, that ball would be over their defense. This is good play. G did really want to lay it off and go forward. And we got to try and find that ball on the wall pass, because it's a very, very good idea. The give and go. Great way to open up space on the wings. And we're still stuck in this corner because that ball didn't just go. But that was great to go ahead and hit a long one right away. And you can see they step up. That's one thing that they like to do, was as soon as the ball went backwards, they would step up to try and get us offside. And that's part of the reason why we were offside a fair bit. And it's okay. But when a ball is in a tight space like that, it's good to get it out. Just good positive play. Run forward with the ball. Carry it. Get yourself down the field to where they have to really do some serious defending to keep you from scoring a goal or creating an opportunity. And so now, just by Zoe deciding, okay, I'm going for it, and dribbling down the line, we now have a throw in up high and can hopefully create an opportunity out of it. So I think this was all pretty good use of the ball. A lot of it bouncing around. I think we did okay in most scenarios to try and get it under control and create an opportunity. I think that's just fine by Chloe as well. Ball was bouncing around a lot. She had to make sure she battled to try and get it on the floor. She's the one that ended up doing that, ended up taking a shot. So it's good work. And it came also from Layla doing well at receiving the ball in the throw-in, playing a ball back, and then a one-touch cross. So all of that's good. And here, winning the ball in these areas, this is also good. Now we've got to find a way to create the best shooting opportunity that we can. And that's great stuff by Olivia to pressure the ball. Such a good opportunity here for us to get a shot. Can we? I think where we lose this opportunity was we've got to be able to slow down for a second have the ball at our feet, make a plan, and pass a ball to someone where they are able to just shoot it first time. You really set someone up. That's one thing that we do need to figure out a little bit more. But overall, crosses are getting a lot better. That's a great ball. It's unfortunate that she's offside. But we have improved at that pretty steadily over the course of the last few weeks. So there are some good signs for where we're going with all of our attacking play. So that's one that we allow to bounce a bunch of times, and it gets through. So you can see the difference in when we actually intercept those balls in the midfield versus when they get through. The difference is big. And it doesn't mean that we're going to get scored on every time that happens or that we can't deal with it, but it's pretty obvious that if we cut out those balls, those big balls from the back, we're probably going to have to do a lot less panic defending. So here comes the ball to the back post. We're all sort of not really paying attention. Try and catch up late. Really good finish. I think it just came from, first of all, Paige wanted to win the ball. I think just being a little bit too eager to go and get it and try and win it instead of just keeping her mark from turning. But then once that happened, everyone else was very much just watching the play. And they played one through our back line, and instead of us turning and going back to try and make sure that we avoided a goal, if you look at that again, you'll just see their two players running and all of us sort of standing still. So it was kind of just a switch off from us, an unfortunate way to get scored on. And so here, Lola intercepts the ball, drives forward. Caitlin makes a run in behind, stays on side, and it's a really good finish. I mean, it took about a minute of soccer for us to equalize. I mean, clearly what we are able to do when we get the basics right, and we've talked about this throughout the season, when we get the basics right, it's really, really, really hard to stop us from scoring goals. One thing I loved right there about what Layla did was she chested the ball, headed it, and then played it back. It's just sort of the soccer tennis stuff we were working on this week where a ball is bouncing to you. How can you make sure it stays in front of you and that you are in control of the situation? So that was really good, and we worked on that a little bit this week. I think I saw some improvement, but it's got to get better. I think when you see ball bouncing towards us, almost every time the elbows go up, the hands go up, we lean back, and we just increase our risk of a handball and just keeping the ball bouncing. Lean forward, go towards it, it'll just end up on the floor. So right there, I think when Nolani has the ball, we need everyone to stretch out as open as possible. And the reason why is the ball is in the middle of the field, right? It's in the central area where we can go either right or left, and they don't know which one we're going. So the more we stretch out, the more people get open. It's a transition moment though. We'll keep working on. I think it's especially important for our right and left defenders to always drop into deep positions, and then it opens up space in behind and in the midfield for other players to go and get the ball and not be in a crowd. So the throw in there should just go straight up the line. When we throw it in field, it's very easy for the other team. They're facing us. It's very easy for them to get it going back towards us. If we throw it down the line and allow it to run, then we make the other team turn their backs to the field. It's a tiny, tiny difference in how you set it up and what you do, but the impact that it has is huge. So here we have a throw in again. And if you look, most of the midfielders are marked, right? Jocelyn's a little bit open. Layla's running in. And again, it's just hard for her to deal with. She ends up sort of scruffing away and getting the ball, but they have it now. And I think if we just go down the line more often than not on the sides, pretty much until we get even with the 18-yard box, we will inch up the field a little bit more every single time. And unless, that's what you do if everyone else is marked. If there's someone open, then give them the ball and they can move forward with it. Really good block there by Casey, able to get the ball forward. And this is a great driving run. Really good to get all the way around the defense, put the ball in the box, and that's in a very good area. Very good area. We just need, I would say the center forward in this situation is Caitlin, to get more in front of your defender, in between your defender and the ball, so that you're first to it. But that was a really good play again, and you see how, I mean, we're in the box with the ball, crossing it into two players who are basically in front of the goal, and we don't score, but creating those opportunities with, a repeated amount of success in terms of getting into that position, it's what makes me not worried. We will get better at finishing. We will get better at doing those things. And see, this is a better throw because it's out into space where people can run onto it. And now we put them under a ton of pressure that way. Again, just like leaning back when the ball comes. right? Delaney leaned back just a little bit, and that's why the ball popped straight up in the air. It's sort of a chronic problem in the team, to be able to go to the ball and sort of lean over it, and that'll make sure that it stays down. That's good pressure from everybody just to get it started. Eventually, she's going to run into a hole. Even if she gets by the first or second one, if everyone supports, we will eventually get the ball back. And the defending, in most respects, was pretty good in this game. I think there were only a few times where we dove in a little too much or didn't totally support each other, but for the most part, it was really good.
Cover. Go, Olivia, go, Olivia.
Worth the shot. I would actually say Chloe could probably have taken another touch, one more, to get a little bit closer. I understand sometimes the concern is that because you're dribbling, it's hard to be going faster than a person who's running without the ball. So you start to get nervous that if you take one touch too many, they might get you. But I think once you get into the box, you take a look behind you, just a quick glance, and see where they're at. And that way you can just make sure you're in between them and the ball. And if they want to really make a play for it, they're good. The only thing they can do is foul you at that point. And if they do, it's a red card and a penalty. And at that point, the other team is in so much trouble. So it's more about calming down, waiting for the right opportunity. Sometimes you have to take the shot early. Sometimes you can maybe wait a touch. And being able to take a look over your shoulder to see what kind of pressure you've got is the way you sort of make the right decision in that scenario. So that's a scenario I think Chloe was brave to go for it, and that's great support to win it back by Layla. But one thing we talked about on the sideline was, look, their best player is that one, right? So if you're dribbling the ball and you're breaking into their half and you see her be the one that engages with you, well, once she is coming to cover you, you move the ball to someone else, and she's not going to be able to deal with that situation as well. So it's more about drawing her out of the central position and then playing it to where she is no longer and reducing her impact on the entire play overall. And to piggyback on that is actually one thing I've noticed from a lot of players is a lot of soccer players play the game in a very honest way, which is fine, it makes sense. But I bet you if I were to put a lot of these kids out in a park and we were saying, let's play capture the flag, there would be so much more devious strategizing and analyzing of what the weaknesses are of your opponents and how, you can get around them. And I think we play soccer very much in a now present type of way. So in this second half, what I wanted us to try to do was we switched our formation a little bit, and I wanted us to see if we could use players coming from the wide positions in the second layer of our attack to kind of reduce the impact that their center back would have, so that she wouldn't be able to deal with our midfield because she would have to stay in the back, and then by the time the ball went into the box, she couldn't deal with three players. That was sort of the idea, and it's something we're working on because we also have between Casey, Page, and Addy, we have three very good central defenders, and I really would like to have them all on the field at the same time, and to be able to have the rest of the team work in really strong bursts. I'm starting to learn more and more about sort of the fitness of different players and who can hang longer than others. But with a team of 18 players and all who contribute, it is very difficult for me to do subbing in any different way than as even as I possibly can. Because to be completely frank, every single one of these players gives me something, and very rarely does someone leave the field where I go, okay, now this we're clearly going to know the difference. So one thing to think about in this second half, we may have lost the game in the second half here, but it's not because of the formation we were playing. We are still learning it, yes, but I think it was more just not quite taking the chances that we had, and making a few basic individual errors, and those happen. And so if we understand that, then we can, place what responsibility we had in the right direction. That was really good play, and good job by G to try and pull the ball back towards the middle. That's what got the corner kick, as opposed to sort of trying to shoot or cross towards the goalkeeper where the ball would have gone straight through. By trying to find a teammate, the ball gets blocked, but we get the free ball to put in the box. And this is where the goal comes from. I've spoken to Maggie and Lulu about this, but if they ever want to rewind, it's the reason why why two people should never go for the same ball. What they did was they both went to pressure one ball. They double teamed a player, but they left the other midfielder open. They got split and scored on. And it's a really good lesson, honestly, and it's a great way to learn it. A lot of the time that may happen in a game, and it doesn't end in a goal, so you don't ever really have to truly think about it. And when I spoke to the players yesterday about it, they totally remember. And so now being able to see this is going to really help. Just how do you organize that situation from not happening? Tiny little mistake, and I have to admit, well punished by the other team. Nolani made a good save on the first one. The rebound was better than the first shot, so okay, now we move on. We equalized really well early in the game before. How do we react to giving up goals? I think that's a great question, and I thought we did really well. I mean, I think we reacted well to the goal, and again, I think a couple more mistakes just sort of led to us leaking another two. But overall, the performance never really dropped from any of the players, so it was nice to see a pretty consistent 70 minutes where we did well overall. We just got a little bit unlucky in our own chances, need to score a few more, and make sure we don't have mistakes that lead directly to a goal. At least definitely not 3 or 4 per game.
Hey, Shane, get it out, get it out, get it out. Doesn't help. Hey, you're turning the ball over.
So right there, what I was saying was that I started to hear players saying, get it out from the back, and urging the defenders to sort of get it away, and that really sounds a lot like just kick it to me, which is not how you keep the ball. And in this formation, I'm making it very clear, as I said it yesterday as well when we scrimmaged the 08 Selects and struggled. In this formation, if you turn the ball over, we're too spread out to react quickly. People are not in close bunches. we have ourselves sort of spread across the field in a way that if we keep the ball, it's incredibly difficult to lock us into any certain position on the field. And if we move it, we're going to create chances. So, my biggest point on this is over the course of this half, what we need to pay attention to is how well are we possessing the ball from defense through midfield and up to the forwards. And that does include the wide players. So, the people who that will be in this half are Zoe, Lindsay, Delaney, and Lola. They're the ones who are the wide midfielders. But if we continuously turn the ball over when they're in those positions, they will stop running forward. They will start sitting back. And then we will have basically a defensive line of 5 instead of 3. And we will only have 3 attacking players and 2 midfielders. And that's really, we don't want that to become the balance. So the most important key is to keep the ball. And right here, we decide to smash it. And I think right there, it's a situation. Put the ball on the ground, keep it. Force the other team to come out and leave spaces behind them. I think this is a situation. Any ball that rolls into your box, Nolani, come and pick it up. Anything that rolls into your box, it's in your hands. So feel free to rewind that from where we won the ball and passed it back to our goalkeeper. We passed our way up the entire field. Once again, I'm going to make it clear. If we keep the ball and give it to our teammates and look to progress up the field, especially in this formation, we will not have any trouble because we're stretching the other team so much. So that was just a great example of what we can accomplish when we just, again, do the basics. So this is something that we kind of worked on a little bit at the beginning of the week, and something that we'll keep talking about is really you got to be able to receive body contact. I think right there, Lola thought that pressure was right on her back, and so she made a certain body movement to turn inside, and her opponent read that, and because Lola has her back to the player, she can't see what the other player is doing. What you have to do is feel. And so you have to receive some contact from them to know where they're leaning. And if they lean to your left shoulder, then you turn away to your right. And this is one of those things that unless you receive the contact, you don't get the message, and you will respond in the right way if you know what's happening. I'm pretty certain that if the girl had actually given Lola a nudge in the back, Lola would have turned in the correct direction. So we have to be willing, I think, more than anything, to wait for a little bit of contact to come, to know where to go. If you can't look over your shoulder, wait for a little bit of contact, and that will give you some kind of understanding. Then the other rule of thumb is go away from the goal if you're not sure. Just go towards the outside, dribble it away, kick it out if you're really unsure, and we can reorganize. But you can, I guess, see how it's unfortunate, but now this team's up 3-1, and we have to be asking ourselves kind of how and why, right?
Don't worry about winning the ball.
I think right there, one of the things that I mentioned was we're trying so hard to steal it from the other team, again right there, get on their backs, that we're letting them just turn around us instead of forcing them to pass the ball and play and see if they can actually keep it.
Why? Midfield. Jocelyn, are you tired, Jocelyn? Come on, Deanna, get back.
There's one great chance. I think I like that Caitlin opened up her foot, used her left foot to take that. It's not the easiest finish in the world. Learning how to take it on the right foot based on where your balance is more how to figure out which technique is best to use. But that was a decent effort. We'll get another chance like that in a couple minutes. And you can see how they transition quite well. But if we deal with the ball when it comes to us and defend, I just don't see us having too much trouble. I have an enormous amount of confidence in this team, and I think it's better for us to also learn how to do different things. That is an excellent pass. That's a really good positive touch. So is that one. Get diagonally, get in, and the cross is great. It's just a touch ahead. It's about a yard too far. Here, excellent opportunity to take one touch and finish. We're doing pretty well, putting good pressure. People are getting into good positions, but yeah, there's just that little bit of calmness in front of goal that we were lacking on this day that I think we've had a little bit more in abundance in other games. Uh-oh, here comes another chance. Great run by Chloe, really good ball, and that's unlucky. It happens. It happens. I think the key is to just really tell yourself, like, we've got to just keep on going. It's coming. The goal is coming. We've just got to keep going, and the next chance we get, we're going to be that extra tiny little bit more careful or focused. All right. Now, after all this dominance, here's how we surrender it. One jump up, another jump up, two skips, and just like that, they're dribbling through us. Two players missed that ball, and all we need to do, and we talked about it this week when we played some soccer tennis and worked on some aerial balls, you have to get your body behind it. That is the most important thing. Your whole body just behind the ball. You create a barrier, right? You don't just throw a leg at it, because if you miss, and a lot of the time we do, the end result is the other team just goes up the field further and further and further. And now we're defending a throw in 5 yards from our end line, all because of that. And we were just completely dominating the game, trying to knock on the door to get back into this and potentially win it. And so you can see how those little moments in midfield where we're scared of a ball can sort of almost be our ruin in a way. It's like we can dominate a game in so many respects, and then that is the kind of thing that can slow us down. Good recognition right there by Layla to see that they were sort of going to run a play, and to put pressure on that girl so that she couldn't get a clear shot, and that she felt that she had to do it, that there was someone coming. It's a really, really good ball. Smart to just go long after a kick like that. And the thing that I like about our forwards is they do work hard to win it back. And once we can involve a midfielder like that, here's the key: is we want to switch the ball and find Delaney running forward in that scenario, because she's that wide right player and she will be open because their defender is not going to pick her up and their forward is not going to run back to stay with her. So they sort of operate in this gray area, but we have to be smart enough to find them. That's really good play by Grace to just sort of body the player and let the ball run into Sasha. And you know what? Good. Be physical. If this girl's carrying her team, and she's a tough player, you got to be physical with her too. If eventually that wears her down and she needs a sub, and it gives us an opportunity potentially to play without her in our way, then that's how you wear on teams. You work hard to make them work, and then sometimes they need a break. Sometimes they make a mistake because of it. So one thing that I want to work on with the players is how we build out of the back in this formation. Really, the two midfielders should be way closer to the goal box, allowing an enormous space in the midfield for them to either run forward to, or for one or a couple of our forwards to come in and get the ball high up in the midfield. I'm not sure if that really makes any sense, but it's something that we'll talk about as a team. I'll make sure that we work that one out a little bit next week in preparation for our next game. So here again, we're transitioning and running up the field so quickly and just trying to force attacks. We're starting to get offside a little bit more often, and we're not using our midfield. So we're essentially bypassing a bunch of our own players, and they're going to stop running with the play because it's very tiring to play a game of basketball essentially on a 120-yard long field. That doesn't work very well. And that right there is a great example of right there what Lulu did, just get her body in the way of the ball. The knock-on effect is that Delaney ends up getting into the box. So you can see why it's so important that we root out anything just sort of cascading through our midfield, stop it, and push it back in the other direction. And this is what results. We get a corner out of this. Whereas you saw the previous one where we let it bounce twice, they ended up almost taking a shot on goal. They got a throw in 5 yards from our, end line. And I'm a big proponent of the fact that these tiny little things end up making a huge difference, and we don't need to overthink all the big stuff. It's just focus on these little things, and they will carry over in a big, big way. And right there is the value of our forwards working together when there's a long ball instead of two players staying way out wide and sort of waiting for the center forward to duke it out. To have someone else in there help, it just makes it so that it's more likely we will win a loose ball than the other team will. And so that right there is a great example of why if they stick together on a punt or on a long ball, they're more likely to win it. And right there is the example of Lola taking the other decision of dribbling out wide, and then she's able to actually beat the player, look up, and have all the time in the world to make a decision and play a really good pass forward, and then we're able to attack. So it shows you, the difference between wanting to get rid of the ball because you feel like you're under pressure, turning it over, and then the other team scores, and taking some responsibility of the ball, saying, I can handle this, I've got it, I'm going to carry it and protect it, and then maybe I'll also build the new attack. And so I think that is what we want to take confidence from, is not look at the mistakes and go, oh God, I did a bad job, I made a mistake, but see where, when we did something different, how much of an impact it had in a positive way for the team. So I'm really proud of all the players. I really am. There's 7 minutes left of this video here, and I think that when I watched this tape, as I told the players as well, when I watched this tape, I really felt that we did better than what I remember watching on the field. I think I was a little bit more critical of how we played, but also because I think we could have done better. And I think you get clouded by the fact that individual mistakes sometimes lead to a loss. Sometimes it makes you feel like those were happening more often than they were. And I think the biggest lesson to take away is keep the ball more, be willing to pass it more, be willing to hold it and protect it more, and good things will happen if you're brave on the ball. Off the ball, you have to just be willing to make stops, really. Get in front of it, don't let it get through you. And after you do that, you can make choices because you're the one that has control of the ball. It's much more difficult to make any choices when you're just chasing it around the field, or there's bouncing ball that's difficult for you to handle because you're chucking a karate kick at it. And I think we're working on these little details that will help us play the game the way we see it, because we do see the right things. And now if we build play better, I think there's a really high chance that games like this will not get away from us at all. And this is a good building process for us, because I think we did need these 2 games to lose these 2 games. After beating my 06s and feeling kind of infallible at a certain point, I think we needed a little reality check that, we do still need to do the job in full when we play. We need to finish our opportunities, defend with some real resilience, and if we do, when we score goals, there's just really no one who's going to beat us. So this was, I think, a really good lesson. I hope everyone can take something positive away from this video. I'm going to let the last 5 minutes here roll, and anyone who wants to go ahead and take a look at this, I just suggest players take a look at your own performance and then open it up a little bit and watch some of your friends, and maybe watch it together with people and make something of this rather than just a slog of coach told me to watch the game and so now I have to watch the game. If you want to analyze that little goal and mute me, go for it. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. We did a good job this weekend. Let's go back out next week and really deliver for the rest of the season on what we know we're capable of.
Find her. Come on, Kiana. Get there, Peyton! Go! Come on, Garmin, work back. Move it up, Pop. Find them. Fast, 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 no on it.
Back middle, Nadia, back middle.
We got that ball. Right. And then because we let them have it, we weren't ready for the next one. So you just lose both balls.
Simple, simple. Come on, Gabby. Stay middle, Nadia. Passing.
Layla, you got to make a real tackle there.
Get back middle, Carmen. Cover, Nadia, cover. Cover, Nadia. Smart. Hey, Madison. Up, Nadia.
We
Up.
had so many chances to throw. So many.
Up.
Get your head or chest under the ball.
Come on, Kiana.
Demand yourself to know. That's what
Middle, Nadia, middle. Good work, Carmen.
Technique, Burgundy. Well done.
Good job, Sage. Come on, Carmen, stay with you.